Champions Mojo is part of the CG Sports Network.
Welcome to the award-winning Champions Mojo, hosted by two world record-holding athletes and health, life, and leadership coaches. Be inspired as you listen to Conversations with Champions. And now, your hosts, Kelly Pallas and Maria Parker.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Champions Mojo podcast. And as usual, I am co-hosting with my wonderful sister-in-law, Maria Parker. Hey, Maria.
Hey, Kelly. It's so great to see you today. You look terrific.
Oh, so do you. And it's Maria, you're wearing pink and I'm wearing black. It's like, okay, the world is turned upside down, right? Because it's always the opposite. So today's topic, we really, I know this seems like a little bit of a light subject, but it's going to be a quick podcast. So if you guys can hang with us, we are going to talk about mindfulness. Another word, a little bit higher level of that word is consciousness.
Yes.
And even yet a deeper level of this is paying attention to what we're doing, you know? Yeah. So,
mindfulness is a buzzword, but yeah, it's paying attention to what you're doing in that moment.
And so, the dictionary definition is basically the mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, bodily sensations used. This could be used as a therapeutic technique. So mindfulness is important, but why would we want to be mindful? There are a lot of benefits. So just to name a few, reduction in anxiety, improved cognition, better relationships, reduce stress. So our last episode that you and I did together was on how to reduce stress. Being mindful is definitely a reduction in stress, improving sleep, reducing pain, and there's so much more. Maria, does that sound like something that you might want to do?
Yeah, of course. The first time I heard the word mindfulness was, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, and I was getting my master's degree in counseling. And my supervisor was actually doing a study on mindfulness. I was like, what's that? And he explained that pretty much just the way you said it. But he was working with nursing students, which very stressful. Nursing training is one of the most stressful kind of training you can go through. And the program that he was working with, that a lot of them flunked out. So he trained, I don't know, I think it was 6 or 10 of these students in mindfulness, and the results were amazing. The ones in his study did better on almost every metric, in terms of personal happiness, and also they perform better in school. So I remember thinking, and I think I've probably bought 14 books on mindfulness. I'm getting the idea of it now.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is. But yeah, mindfulness is powerful, especially right now in our digitally dominant world. We're always trying to distract ourselves, and that's what phones do. They're little distraction devices. And so, being mindful means being here in this moment, whatever you're doing, and not trying to distract yourself. In the last show, we talked about, like you said, we talked about stress, and being mindful is like a huge way to combat stress. So let's talk about some ways we can be more mindful. The first one is, and I think maybe Oprah Winfrey or somebody brought this, practice gratitude. And that's basically thinking about what is good right now, what's good in this moment. And I think you can list it, you can journal it. In my prayer life, I start out, as I've said in other things, by breathing. And then I think about, what is on my mind, what's on my heart, and then what am I grateful for that? So that's a huge, and practicing gratitude is just a great habit all around. Like, what's good right now? Like, what's good right now is you and I are together. We're talking about a good thing. It doesn't matter what else is going on in the world. This is great. The temperature in this room is great. I have had a nice meal. I can spend, if I really think about it, I can list 100 things that I'm grateful for. And that's really a great way to be mindful. And then the second way to do it is to check in with your body, and, take the focus off of other things, what your thoughts, and just thinking, okay, what's going on with my body right now? This is particularly helpful when you're eating. it's like, I'm chewing, I'm tasting this food. Is any of my muscles sore? Does, or what feels good? And right now I'm feeling physically really good. So, one thing you can do is move your body and think about how it feels. You can stretch your arms up over your head and think about how that feels and, be in that moment. Kelly,
Yes.
do you have some ideas?
Yeah. So those are two great ones to start. We're going to do 10 total because the
Right.
name of the show is the 10 simple ways to be more mindful.
But I forgot already because I was being mindful the first two.
You were right in the mindfulness. So you didn't even, I love it. You were focused. So a practice that I do with some of my coaching clients is I have them say the words, now I am. So when you're transitioning from, let's say you come in from a busy day at work and, all your kids hit you when you come in the door or your spouse, you're like, okay, now I am the mom. And that's what I'm doing. Now I am talking with my spouse. Now I am swimming. Now I am. So it's a little practice of just saying, now I am. And I want to tell a story that relates back to swim parents who drive swimmers to practice all the time, or soccer parents, or anybody who does a lot of driving. My dad, but mom too, of course, but somehow I guess my dad was less mindful than my mom because dad got so in the routine of driving us to the pool for swim practice, especially me. But Jim and I went together. Your husband was once a little baby carpooler, Maria. I know it's hard to believe.
I can envision it.
And so when the family would get in the car to go anywhere, let's say we're going to my aunt and uncle live nearby, and sometimes we went over there to see them, or we went to the grocery store, or we're going to a movie, or we were going to a basketball game. Guess where we would end up? At the swimming pool, at swim practice, because dad was not mindful. He was on autopilot. He was just on autopilot. So one of the techniques for now I am is setting an alarm to be present.
Oh, I love
Some of the
that.
experts say, like, set an alarm that says, I'm going to be present. I'm going to have attention. Being attentive to what you're doing is actually a muscle. So you develop that muscle of attention. Yeah. So that's that's number 3. Number 4 is so important for relationships. And it's so obvious when you're mindful. Truly listen to the person you are speaking with. And Mark, being the linguist that he is, he calls that the interlocutor. So your interlocutor is simply you are currently my interlocutor, Maria. And so listen to what that person is saying. And it's easy for me to be thinking, all right, I'm listening to what Maria's saying. What am I going to say next? Instead of listening to what you're saying, which is, we know, having been experienced podcasters, when we have guests, you never want to do that. You want to listen. And Maria, you're so good at that, listening to their full, what they're saying, and then asking a responsive question versus, okay, question number 5 is, and that's how you can kind of tell the difference between really good listeners and people that are, thinking about what they're going to have for dinner or something else. So putting the phone down is the first thing. Turning, like Mark and I have a habit now where we have breakfast together every morning that we can. And our phones are not allowed to be there, because if they're there, we invariably just something will ping, or we'll think about, oh, I should have done that. So put your phone down and truly listen. That's number 4.
Those are both so beautiful. And I have to admit that I am guilty of turning the wrong way. Just like, I'm on my way. I drive between my home and my work, often several times a day. And so sometimes I'll forget what I'm doing. So I'm really guilty of that. I love that they set alarm to be present. That's beautiful. And of course, putting your phone down. So 5 and 6, I love number 5, which is pay attention to your emotions. So many times I can, and and this might be common, I don't know if it's to you, I can just like be doing something, often putting food in my mouth, for instance, and I'm like, what? I'm not hungry. What am I doing? Or even just open the refrigerator or open a cabinet. What am I doing? I'm I'm responding to something that I don't want to think about. I am having an emotion that makes me uncomfortable, that makes me want to run away. And really, once you can pay attention to your emotions, they're not all that bad. It's like, and this just happened yesterday evening. I was in a conversation with somebody, with a couple of people, and I said something that I was kind of embarrassed about. I mean, it was fine, but I felt a little bit embarrassed about it. And then later, after I got finished with it, was a Zoom call. After I got finished with the meeting, I was like, kind of pacing around, and and then I realized, okay, Maria, what's going on? Oh, you feel embarrassed about what you said. Was that a bad thing? No, that really wasn't. I mean, I was able to kind of work it through once I was willing to face it. I felt a little bit of shame about saying something, and it was fine, really. But maybe it wasn't fine. But just acknowledging that I had those feelings, rather than just doing whatever it is. Like so many of us, like getting into my phone and going on Instagram, just to distract myself from that uncomfortable feeling. Lots of times we try to run away from uncomfortable feelings. And if we can just be there in that moment, it's so much better. And then number 6 is, and I kind of alluded to this before, become aware of all 5 of your senses. It's not just, what am I hearing right now? What am I, what's the taste? What's the smell? What's the, how do things feel? Like, how does this chair I'm sitting in feeling? What is this? What is the texture of things? That really helps you be in the moment and mindful. And you really want to be that. If you're taking care of a child, you want to think about how they smell. What are they saying? How, their smooth little skin, their sandy, soft hair. If you're talking to a friend, it's the same thing. Be aware of everything, that you can observe with your senses about them.
Yeah. And some of these are great techniques for just like some of the things we're talking about today are things to do to be more productive. And then some of these are things to practice being mindful of, just calming yourself down, using the benefits of mindfulness. And this is one for anxiety and for being mindful. And that's become aware of 5 things in nature.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So, like a lot of times, I'm in my little workspace studio here, which has 3 windows that look out on a beautiful, incredible Florida scene, like a long view of the golf course and the lake and the pool and lots of beautiful plants and birds. And so, just if I'm looking here, I can see glistening water. I can see 100 palm trees. I can see a beautiful red plant here. I literally can see a white egret, so like and it doesn't have to be all those beautiful things. It can be the texture of a tree. It can be the brown of the tree. It can be the dirt. It can be whatever. But when you do connect to nature, and my point was, some days I will sit here and I will miss all of that. Yeah. Like I will not even see this incredible beauty in front of me because I'm so unmindful and just taking that moment. So, that's huge. And another, skill, which again, we talked about in stress, breathing is like the new, it's like the new panacea for everything. You can really heal a lot of things.
Works.
It does work. It works for stress reduction. It works for pumping up. It works for meditation. It works for prayer. It also works for being mindful. My favorite technique is the 4-4-8. I wrote about it in my book. But it's 4 breaths, 4-second breath in through the nose, hold it for 4 seconds, and then exhale it in a whooshing sound through your mouth for 8 seconds. So it's in through the nose 4, hold for 4, out through the mouth for 8. And that literally also, that is great for insomnia. Like if I wake up and I cannot fall back to sleep and I do 2 of those, I'm like, ow, it's just parasympathetic. It takes you into a different state. So that's 7 and 8. What are the last 2, Maria?
Well, 9 and 10 are just like you should observe your emotions. You should observe your thoughts, which are,
and those are different.
They are different
because your thoughts make your emotions.
Right. That's right. So to extend the example I gave earlier, my emotion that I had last night was a little bit of embarrassment. And the thought was that I had said something that might have hurt somebody's feeling or was silly or something. Anyway, so once I went through that process of, quietly observing that, then I felt so much calmer. And I wasn't pacing and looking for something else to calm me. So, and then the 10th one is, mindful eating. This is, it's so important and we don't do it. Eating should be a celebration of food, of community. And, when you're eating, you should think about everything. You should think about the texture of the food, the taste of the food, the way, who you're with, the chair you're sitting in. Don't just gulp it down. Don't do it in front, don't do it while you're holding your phone. I mean, people do, it's like, taste your food. It's a gift from God, taste it. And it'll also help you lose weight because you'll slow down and you'll think, sometimes when I'm mindfully eating, I'm thinking, why am I eating this? This doesn't even taste good. I think I'll stop.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Those are all huge. So it's now time for the takeaways. Maria, you and I have heard the takeaways are the best part of the show.
That's right, Kelly, because the takeaways are curated information, which is what we give to our clients when we coach them.
If you would like to take your performance to the next level in health, life, or leadership, go to our website and schedule your free 30-minute consultation.
Yes, just click on our coaching page and book there. We're looking forward to bringing out the champion in you.
And now, the takeaways. Maria, let's do our takeaways. These are 10 really quick, simple things. Practice gratitude, check in with your body, practice now I am, listen to the person that's speaking, pay attention to your emotions, become aware of your senses, connect to things in nature, focus on your breathing, observe your thoughts, and eat mindfully. So, all right, Maria, what are your two, you're either really passionately going to continue to cultivate or you're going to add?
I love the set an alarm to be present. Just because that's a great way to start any new habit. And now I am, those are really, you had them kind of in the same thing, but I think those are two for me that I'm going to work on. Like now I am podcasting.
Yes.
And also when I'm not doing something that involves me talking, whatever that I will, just, I don't know if I'll set an alarm, maybe like a rubber band. I need another sort of visual reminder to be present, especially when I get in the car. So I think what I'm going to do is find something to maybe put in the car, and this will be my anchor or my cue to be present in that moment in the car. It's okay. I don't have to listen to a podcast. I can just be with myself.
Those are good ones.
How about you? Do you have some?
Yeah, I love the one that goes before observing your emotions, which is checking in with your thoughts. And this podcast really stuck with me. And, there's some wisdom in Erica Brown. I don't know if you remember the Erica Brown interview, but
yes, I do.
She's the one who was having negative thoughts and
Yes.
she checked in with her thoughts and wrote down, what am I thinking? Why am I feeling badly? Oh, it's this thought.
Right.
That she went on to make our Olympic team.
Yay.
As an outsider, like she was not like a lock to make the Olympic team.
Right.
But obviously what she was doing, she was observing her thoughts and that really worked for her. And so our thoughts become our emotions. And so if we can kind of back up before we go into a crash of emotions of something, what is the thought that's causing that? So that is something I always need to work on is, boy, my thought is going to cause whatever my emotion is or my next thing. So I want to observe my thoughts more. And then I'm also really, I need to be more mindful when I'm eating. I can be guilty of multitasking and trying to, like, just before the podcast, I had another meeting and I didn't eat lunch and I ate really early. So I'm like, okay, I don't want my stomach growling on this podcast. So I had like a 30-minute window, but I was also looking at the content, working on the script. So I was eating while I was I was creating some of the stuff for the podcast, and that's not good. So I'm fully on board and believe in mindful eating and not watching a movie while you eat, or, doing something else. So those are the two I'm going to work on.
I like those. I'm glad you brought up both the thoughts and the feelings, because really the feelings are the flag, especially if they're negative. It's a flag saying, something's going on here, get to the thought. And I love Erica Brown's thing too. She said she started out by doing morning and night, and then sort of gradually that worked. Now throughout the day, she was much more aware. So if you need a way to begin this process, just do it at night or in the morning when you wake up. And for me, at night's the best, because then I can sort of sort things out before I go to sleep.
Yeah. All right, Maria, this is very awesome.
Yes, it is very awesome.
All right.
Love you, Kelly.
Love you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Champions Mojo podcast with host Kelly Palace and Maria Parker. Champions Mojo is produced by Cabra Media, and a new episode debuts every Tuesday. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. Follow Champions Mojo on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook @Champions Mojo.